Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I am Prakash Zog. We've been talking about Bhakti, and that, as I mentioned, is a universal phenomenon. It's true in all religions, but nowhere has we been talked in such detail as in Hinduism. We've mentioned the different types of bhaktis. The topic itself is so vast that it has been split up into a number of categories. The apara and the para bhakti, the mukhya bhakti, the gauna bhakti, the saguna bhakti, the nirguna bhakti, the kamya bhakti, the kaik, vachik and manasik bhakti, the Vedic bhakti, the Laukik bhakti, the Adhyatmik bhakti, the Sattvic bhakti, the Rajas bhakti, the Tamas bhakti. So many different forms. I've clarified many of them in my previous lecture. But why is bhakti so important, and why is it so dominant in Hinduism? There are a number of reasons for this. I am going to talk of some of these reasons today. It is the most logical, positive extension of the love towards someone you feel is superior to you and whom you can emulate in some form or the other. We must look into the reasons, the causes, the benefits. It is talked of as karan and prayojana hetu, that is because and why of a particular concept, and that's what we must do when we talk of bhakti from the Indian philosophical point of view. According to our philosophy, there are a number of different ways or paths. They are known as the marg for achieving God. It's the tantric or the ritualistic marg, the karma or the active marg, the jnana, that is the knowledge marg, bhakti, which is the one that we are talking of. For most of them, other than bhakti, a thorough understanding and knowledge is essential. Bhakti does not need any of this. It is the easiest and the simplest path that one can choose to reach the Lord. It is said that bhakti is the lubricant of all the other marg or the paths. If you have bhakti in your mind associated for the Lord, following any other path is going to become more fruitful, more effective. Whether it is the karma yoga or the jnana yoga or the raja yoga or any other form, tantra, any of these techniques. And do you need to be conscious about it? Actually, in some of our texts, it is said that unknowing bhakti can also be fruitful and give you results. There are a number of episodes of this sort mentioned in the recital book that many of us know, the Shiva Leelamrut. It talks of a hunter who was sitting on a tree thinking about the prey that was there and kept on dropping leaves and meditating along with it and attained a very high status. It's a tale for you to read sometime. Bhakti therefore has no prerequisites. No pre-training is required. It's not like all other forms. It's not a difficult path. It's not complicated by any of the rituals or any other aspects. No one is barred from bhakti. No one is disqualified from being a bhakta and following the path of bhakti. Whether it's a female or a shudra or a dharmi, the one who does not follow religion. Age is no barrier. We have children like Prahlad and Dhruva who attained the highest of status. There's no restriction on the physical state. Kubja, the one who was in bhakti with Lord Sri Krishna, was physically deformed. You could be of a different life form altogether, like Gajendra, the elephant, or Hanumanta, the monkey king. You could have wealth or you could be deprived of it. You could be as poor as Sudama. You could have a low birth like the Dasi Putra Vidur, who was preferred as a person at whose place Krishna would stay during Mahabharata. So you can imagine the importance given to him. There was no caste barrier. You could be of a low caste like Valmiki, who started as a very lowly life and then rose to the highest status of Adi Kavi because of his bhakti. Or you could be a person who never came across the person you were involved with, like Jatayu. Or you could be permanently attached to the god you are associated with, like Nandi, and still you could have bhakti. You could be a king, you could be a queen who gave up everything, like Mirabai. It doesn't really matter what state you were in your earlier form. You could be an asura like Vibhishan, who finally took up the path of Ram through his bhakti. So all these would indicate that there is no real restriction. Every jiva, every living organism has a right to bhakti. It doesn't matter what your dharma is, what your birth is, what your nationality is, what your physical state is. It is a path that can be taken up by anyone at any stage of life. Some of the texts list out the objectives of bhakti, and these have been summarized in 4 different words. These are what are associated, that come along with bhakti. Samipya, that is being close to him. Salokya, this is a will to go and stay with him in his abode. The Kailas and the Vaikuntha are the 2 of the abodes of Lord Shiva and Vishnu, as we are fully aware of. Then you could have Sayujya. This is being united with him. And as I mentioned some time back, a true bhakta is not really interested in mukti, that is salvation. He believes in being with the Lord constantly in his prayers and along with him. There is another aspect which deals with sarupya, which is appreciating all his glory and beauty and charm. And that is what people pray for. That is what a true bhakt prays for. Does he need a guidance for this? In one sense, there is no role of a guru in bhakti. Anyone with a predetermined feeling in his heart can take up to bhakti. So it is more of a personal attachment. So bhakti does not need a mediator or a guru, but it is possible that someone might put you in the right path of bhakti by a suitable advice. And that's what Maharshi Narad has been doing all along. When we see him improving the quality in Valmiki and getting him on the right path, or Prahlad or Dhruv for that matter, these have all been advised by Narad and put on the right track. But the path has to be traversed by an individual, fully by his own, at his own pace, at his own liking, and by his own method. So that is not the responsibility of the mediator as such, like Narada. Once bhakti takes firm root, the bhakta thinks only of his Lord. Everywhere he looks around him, and in everything that is around him, he sees not the normal form but his Lord himself. It is said that the gopis from Vrindavan and those areas who were so engrossed in the bhakti of Krishna that when they used to go to sell their ware, all the milk products, a variety of them, butter and milk and buttermilk and so many things. And when they went to sell, they would say, buy this Krishna, buy this Krishna, buy this Krishna. For them, everything was Krishnamaya. So, once you get into the stage of bhakti, you start seeing Him in everything that is around you. And then it is quite likely that you might be on the wrong path in the beginning of your life. But still, you could achieve a lot of things in life by shifting your path in the right direction. As I mentioned, Bibhishan is one of the examples, and Valmiki is the second one. They were originally asuras, one asura and one a robber, a thief who used to loot people. And then they changed once they got into the path of bhakti. And it is not really, there is a tale that you need not, as long as the feeling is there in your heart, bhakti does not insist on a particular format. The word Ram is to be recited 1,000,000 times or more as a part of your bhakti. But a person who did not know the right word went on with the word Mara, 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 Mara. Mara as a unit talks of death. But Ram, 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 Ram lands up with Ram himself. So bhakti does not insist on what words you use. It is a feeling in your heart that counts. In modern times, bhakti has given in these present days, the level of bhakti has been modified by a number of ways, and new terminology is many a times added on to these words. One of the prime ones today that every individual must talk of is Desha Bhakti, the bhakti or the total dedication for your own country. And that is a very strong feeling that all of us have lived for and survived for. There is another form of bhakti that is talked of very often, and that is Guru Bhakti, total dedication to one's Guru, to one's teacher. And you will find that if you come across any of us, in fact me, when I see my own teachers, for me, looking at them itself is a joy. So going and holding on, bending down to touch their feet is such a pleasure. And it is believed that the first guru that a person has is his mother. So Matru Bhakti, that is prayers for your mother and bhakti towards your mother and your parents, is also among one of the dominant bhaktis that is talked of today. It is also said that bhakti has its own rewards, because once you dedicate yourself in bhakti, taking care of you is the responsibility of the Lord. He doesn't bother looking at what shape or form you are, but He showers His blessings on you at all times. The four basic objectives of life, according to Hindu philosophy, are the four Purusharthas: the Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Ideal behavior, all your finances, all your needs and necessities, and salvation. These are the four steps. And it is said that once you get along the path of bhakti, it is all these that are provided by the Lord Himself for you. But then the bhakta is then in a state where he doesn't need all this. For him, it's bhakti that matters the most. Bhakti always talks of dual nature. That's one of the specialities of bhakti. Advaita is non-dualism. I'll come to these philosophical concepts, Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita and others sometime later. But Dvaita is you and me. two of us. And Advaita is, there is no difference between you and me, Advaita. Ramakrishna says that I don't want to be a part of the Lord. Because if I become a part of the Lord, how can I pray? How can I understand the beauty of Lord if I am a part and parcel of himself? He says there's no point of me becoming a grain of sugar. It is more important for me to become the ant which enjoys the pleasure of the sugar. So that probably is more important. So Dvaita is a concept that is dominant in Bhakti Marga. And then people come to this Bhakti Marga in spite of having everything in life. Because there is a stage when you reach where you find that understanding him and following his path is the most important thing that is left in life. There are no other goals, there are no other objectives. In the Bhagavad, in one of the sections known as the Kunti Stuti, there is a statement by Kunti herself. Kunti, of course, is the mother of the Pandavas, and this is a statement that comes after Yudhishthir, her eldest son, has vanquished all his enemies with the help of his brothers and has taken over the kingdom of the Panchals and the Kurus and the Pandavas and everyone, and he is the emperor around. And at that stage, Kunti talks to her cousin Krishna, who is the Lord himself, and says, let my attachments to both the Pandavas and the Vrishnis, that is the families of surviving families of Krishna himself, let my attachment to both of them reduce, my dear Lord. Like the river Ganga that flows towards the sea, let me flow in bhakti towards you, because there is nothing else that is more important. None of these empires, none of this matters to me now. It is finally you that matters, and bhakti in you. Give me freedom from everything else, all these attachments, and let me be attached through bhakti to you. The empress who could have done everything she wished strives only for bhakti. And bhakti is not at the last stage. Surprisingly, from the first instant when you start realizing your bhakti for something, you start gaining pleasure. There is a joy, there is a feeling of contentedness, and it increases with your every step forward. In all the other paths, everywhere else, by going to a variety of other places like Tirtha Yatras and pilgrimages and others, you finally come to a conclusion that it is your mind where bhakti has to reside. Otherwise, going for a Tirtha Yatra or a pilgrimage is more like sightseeing. That's not the visits to a temple is just to look around and eat prasad. That's not the objective. It is the feeling in the heart of bhakti that decides on what your achievements in this area are. Gita always says that Bhakti Yoga is the simplest method to meet God. And many times the topmost person known to us is always God. It is possible that in your earlier stages you might be appreciating someone higher than you, and you might be attached to him in a variety of forms as bhakti. But when you realize a still higher idol in front of you, your bhakti transforms itself to the next level. That's what happened even to Hanuman. He was firmly attached to Sugriv till the day he met Sri Ram. And the day he met Sri Ram, all his dedication shifted one level higher to Sri Ram. That's what must happen to all of us. Let us strive for the highest possible roles that we have in front of us for bhakti. It's more important to realize what these bhaktas are also and what their status is too. If you have appreciated whatever I have said, please like and subscribe to this channel. Realize and tap the bhakti that is there within you. Let it flow out, let it give you joy and enjoyment at every stage, every time, every minute. If you have liked all this, let's meet again after another 15 days and talk of all these people who are engrossed in bhakti, the bhaktas themselves and their qualifications. Till then, namaskar.